If you've been scrolling through endless listicles, watching YouTube deep dives, and still feel like the perfect TV is just one more click away, this review is here to settle the debate. I've sat down with a few other folks who were on the fence about a massive OLED for their living room, and we kept circling back to the same worries. Will the picture truly be worth the price? How will the TV fit into a room that's already packed with furniture, speakers, and a never-ending tangle of cords? And what happens when you finally plug everything in? Does the whole setup start to feel like a science lab experiment? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Samsung 77-inch class OLED S90F lands in a category that's usually reserved for people who want a theater-like experience without stepping out of their home. At 77 inches, the screen dominates a typical family room, so the first thing to ask yourself is whether your viewing distance aligns with the size. Most experts recommend sitting about 1.5 to 2.5 times the screen width for a true 4K benefit that works out to roughly 9 to 12 feet away for this panel. If your couch is closer than that, you might start seeing individual pixels or feel a bit of eye strain after a marathon binge session. Conversely, if you have a larger layout, you'll likely appreciate how the OLED's deep blacks and HDR Plus punch fill the space without losing detail at the edges. One of the biggest selling points Samsung highlights is the NQ4 AI Gen3 Processor. In practice, that means the TV is constantly analyzing each frame and trying to upscale lower-resolution content to look closer to native 4K. I tested this with a mix of streaming services, some 1080p movies, a 4K sports broadcast, and a handheld game console that outputs at 720p. The processor did a respectable job smoothing out the grain on older movies and making the sports broadcast feel crisp, but the most noticeable lift was on content that already had decent detail. The AI didn't magically turn a low-budget sitcom into a masterpiece. For most viewers who stream a lot of 4K Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney+, the processor's upscaling will feel like a nice background benefit rather than a headline feature. The OLED HDR Plus implementation is where the picture truly shines. Because each pixel can turn off completely, you get near-infinite contrast. In a dimly lit room, the shadows on a horror film become genuinely black, which makes the occasional flash of light feel more dramatic. In a bright living room with windows uncovered, the screen still holds up reasonably well. The HDR Plus peak brightness isn't as high as some LED backlit rivals, but the color accuracy holds up because the panel itself doesn't need to fight against a backlight bloom. I found that the colors stay vivid even after an hour of viewing, which is a common complaint with some OLEDs that begin to wash out under prolonged use. If you're a cinephile who enjoys true-to-life color grading, that consistent accuracy is a big win. Now, let's talk about the bundle that comes with the AudioQuest G8 8-outlet USB-A, a USB-C AC power surge protector. At first glance, it looks like a simple power strip, but it's actually designed to clean up the noise that can travel through your electrical lines. For a big OLED with a sophisticated AI processor, any stray interference can translate into subtle picture jitter or audio artifacts. In my own setup, plugging the TV into the G8 helped keep the sound from my soundbar crystal clear, especially during fast action scenes where the audio track is densely lead. If you already have a high-quality surge protector, you could skip this bundle and save a bit, but for first-time OLED buyers who might not have a dedicated power solution, the inclusion is a thoughtful safety net. Who should consider this TV? First, think about your primary use case. If you're a gamer who loves the instant response time of OLED, and you already own a console that can output 4K at 120 Hz, the 77-inch screen will deliver an immersive experience that rivals a small home theater. The low input lag and near-instant pixel response make fast-paced shooters feel smoother, and the wider color gamut will showcase the game's art direction. Families that binge-watch TV shows together will also benefit from the large screen real estate and the reliable upscaling for older series that only exist in HD. Finally, Anyone who already invests in a sound system or is planning to add one will appreciate the RF noise dissipation feature, which reduces electromagnetic interference that can otherwise muddy the audio. On the flip side, there are buyers who should step back. If your living space is under 10 feet across, the 77-inch panel may dominate the room and feel cramped. The same goes for households with very young children. OLED panels, while impressive, are susceptible to permanent burn-in if static logos sit on the screen for extended periods. Samsung's own protection mechanisms mitigate the risk, but it's still a consideration for households that leave the TV on as a digital picture frame. Also, if you're primarily watching content in a brightly lit